nanso so eni ho ehye nipa da sani ebetu akowiem ene onyankropon akotena democracy eyema bibifo anase enyema yen kwasi broni trim popa ene sentia wadi vaccination eba abibiman mu na family plan so mpo no ehye ben ana kwasi broni hye ye ewo de krom entia wadi etoa yen eba ne sen ana gay ati atese ewo wiase afana nyinara ene we se illuminati ene we se freemason ene we se sumwe mu ni nyinara ahyase firi he no broni trim po a wadi sa nyema we nyinara eba no de atoa abibiman mu ene sen we entram so hwe wake up Africa kwasiada we ni kwasiada bia awia dumienu ekopem awia no mienu live on Royal TV eye dwumadia ofa poku danko ye executive director edema free the mind movement ene ofa Israel Nkrumah eye coordinator edema free the mind movement no
ebeka me Michael Asma ho
na yesim konya na madi dwumadia ho chiame na ensem bia tise no ye gina twekronkron so abakosem ene twere ahodo so na ede mo hu ba bia obibini ufiri ene mu a eduro ene soma wo sombo na mabrofo sisi ache ebra so se call together twele kaye no etumi bam ne no ana shase o free the mind movement dwumadie first wake up Africa dwumadie so praso say ye fa dwumadie live on Royal TV so kwasiada we ni kwasiada bia awia dumienu kopim no mienu na ya de wo so adwenche na wasemmisa yeye ano e de ma wake up Africa abibiman moma yen sore
Siboni wa matia sai okroto wa matia sai Amuna oba ye krum se oba betray ya mesu Eche no toni ba eche no di asase akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo Okromoto wa Matias Siboni wa Matias sai Okromoto wa Matias sai Amuna oba ye krum se oba betray ya mesu Eche no toni ba eche no di asase akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo okromoto wa Matias Siboni wa Matias sai okromoto wa Matias sai Amuna oba ye krum se oba betray ya mesu Eche no toni ba eche no di asase akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo Okromoto wa Matias Siboni wa Matias sai Okromoto wa Matias sai Amuna oba ye krum se oba betray ya mesu Eche no toni ba eche no di asase akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo Okromoto wa Matias Siboni wa Matias sai Okromoto wa Matias sai Amuna oba ye krum se oba betray ya mesu Eche no toni ba eche no di asase akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo akwanu mana bia sanyo Okromoto wa Matias Siboni wa Matias sai Okromoto wa Matias sai Amuna oba ye krum se oba betray Yamesu. A chain of Tony Bat, a chain of the Assassin Aquano Bay. Aquano mana via Samuel, Aquano Bay. Aquano mana via Samuel, Aquano Bay. Aquano mana via Samuel, Aquano Bay. Aquano mana via Samuel. Chromato wa Matias, Cosibronin wa Matias, Chromato wa Matias, Amuna Oba ye Crumse, Oba betray Yamesu, a chain of Tony Bat, a chain of the Assassin Aquano Bay, Aquano mana via Samuel, Aquano Bay, Aquano mana via Samuel, Aquano.
Free the Mind Movement presents Zion Ladies Holy Conference. I will Kumasi Edum Closer Call. Sadan Jumedieno Ebeye Bonfrete. Housekeeping eye efiemu asetena ni aduane ye a ebeboa ema ebusuano enyiniache naso kaise apomuden kase ewo efie biemu opare James ebe kasafa ho opon ye duara ebe kasafa ho organic eye GMO eno so aduane die ene die yendi nyina ebe koso ewo edum Kumase ewo closer call eye Zion Ladies eno modi ba ene die ekeka ho kaise sadano eye on the 4th to 6th January 2024. Saupe Jumediemu Embisemu and Hwehwemu bia for 020-531-4000 and also say 024-6875-186. A Zion Ladies Holy Conference ewo Kumase a health talk a efiemu asetena a abrabomu sem Mama Africa, James Opare, upon Yeduara, Eric, and when he gets artist. Ebeye Bonfrete.
Sibronin wa Matiasai, Okroto wa Matiasai. Amuna Oba ye Crumse, Oba betray Yamesu. A chain of Tony Bat, a chain of the Assassin Aquano Bay. Aquano mana via Samuel, Aquano Bay. Aquano mana via Samuel, Aquano Bay. Aquano mana via Samuel, Aquano Bay. Aquano mana via Samuel. Chromato wa Matias, Cosibronin wa Matias,
ena ye bo open se ebraso se mene wo ye betrase na ye bedi nkomo afa ye Jumedia ya shasia ene ye call part 4 of it na etumi edi nkomo oye Jesuit nsamo a ere ye gusu a ye di mu enkomo se ne be ya mene wo ye bete nsamo atwem bebe na beka se abakwasem ehuhia wana ka kire wo abakwasem ehia se ne be ya obehu Jumedia enkofukuo no eye na so mo shasia biemu a na wahu kwan a obefa so a onu omo ebetena anasa onu omo ebenante abuse ne kwesiade eneso eye 24 December se na wonimu no endeso eye kwesiara na ye beto adwumedi no so ye krado se anasa wo ye krado anasa wa ye krado se ene adwumedi no de obefa no World Cup esan se bebe na se oma mesi se wa mesi dia ene ende nyabotre ne tami kuchu na yemfa de ende die no se ne tie no yemfa mbrawo na hu se ne sitie abuse se sa na tie bia in social media handles a ye wo a obetumi ene akasa na wodi nkomo no atese messages no WhatsApp, Facebook ene YouTube obetumi ni akasa anase normal SMS obetumi ni edi nkomo se ne tie bia no ye beyi ano na ne tie bia no yasan so ama answer send your open now people say YouTube handle bang saso na Facebook handle bang and also say WhatsApp no normal bang and I did text message WhatsApp there is 05046430052 saso normal SMS no the same 05046430052 oko Facebook there Wake Up African GH saa so na uko YouTube so a Wake Up Africa GH ho ene edi nkomo na edi bibia efa ho betumi asene o comment and as a live stream comment aba ho na menya daje etumi akan ama se ne be ya osu betumi ho se nde dwumedi no o ka ho bi ampa empenifu mienu a edu kwesere bia no omo ye di dwuma ewo saa program yi so eye RTV saa dwumedi a ya to ne di Wake Up Africa eye free the mind movement akachi eba no omo aye crowd so omo ha ende ye be di nkomo eye Jesuit nkomo no a na ye gusu a ye ba be di se ne be ya mene wo ye behu enkofukuo yi omo ndwuma omo di ewa asase so ene power omo wa omo tumi di control nipa na de ye kan ni nyina se se Jesuit nkomo de a se ne nimu no na wotwe mu yedi nkomo bebre yedi kasamfoni bebre ema o esanso ma nyama ebetumi ama wate ase eye abakwase ma ni Jesuitfo ene Romanfo nsamwa ana nyama maye ene wo Ghana hampo no ebi sase ne Jesuitfo no mo ha na wotwe mu prove say even that time as at that time na ye kasa no 3 people were being ordained to become a Jesuit priest and then na no omoda so na mponi capture news about it no people were saying they are ordaining omo as at now and na me no ye tena se ye di nkomo say and then there was spies ewe mu ye nkofuku a ene omo ye omo say omo ya so abofo na so ya som no to epono no so a na omo de ko na abaye target na Israel me ye hu say sa Jesuit no enye Roman fo nko amu na wo na nsori bia no bebre wom na mu de bia mfa no Jesuit a amoso de no ebewo edin bia betumi aboa se na be ya obehu sampa na bi asori kwa no kono omo wo ekuo bia eno so omo order no mo di super pepe enye Roman fo nko a na ni nyina ne enkanfo ni nyina no omo kosua afiri hi eye Roman fo akati no omo kosua ni nyina afiri ye eno so na fa ya poku dan kwa me ati asese sa na tie de a sa nkonfo dwumedie anaso ndwume ku omo ye nyina no obebi afiri ye me hu se sa we president mpo US former president Abraham Lincoln and then the penifo mo twetwuma na say current president a omaba and recent is nyano omo mina support esan say wan keka ni yie na ko hihim minimu a daachi bi no uwo enyefe esan say Abraham Lincoln omo tete ne say nko wiase no ye kunu fi wiase ene ye be toaso se na dwumedie no woni je ho no ene so ye ba be toaso pepepe ka say me the American say floating listeners and also floating viewers Wake Up Africa Royal TV show no ebraso say na munimo no monfrɛ from ho na intumi enfa messages we intum so far as ya share no live stream bibia me de betum amamo na motumi stream in live na obibia obibia no wenya bi ahwe na enedwumedie no akoso pepepe me da asidia pesi ema kumasefo saa so na ye de asidia pesi ema odan fo enen sa hwe ba ni nyina no ekɔ mo side no edamase mo welcome you nicely saa so na egusu aye mamo se munya honde na munjina brane na intumi enye adwuma no enko yenim sa na tie de a ene dwumedie no ye ba be hyase na minda mpenifo na di na dwumedie no enkeke off na yenyina esan se yenyina ya krado se ye betie na bibia akoso pepepe ama yenyina se sa na tie de a ye fe me Michael Asma se na wonim no fifi ena wofa ya foku dankwa eta ede frame ni se wonim di a ena me kodo mu di na dwumedie no ahyase Israel nkoma e ma kwa ba apomu bibia bako papa and that's more fire give thanks hola fifi apomu boko fifi bibia bako mata de no abeba na me free ifir me fifi be tu ahomachi nti ahopeprenti nyama bi wo kura mpa manfa nhye ma ade mi kumi kura mpa ne kura bebo mi minim esanse makoye ade bi amano a mi wi fa ma papa kumi so ni mu aba na wotu etwe mu no o ma yefu ye Jesuit fo plans towards everything that they do say o fight against their wishes or their plan the omudu befem o ma yehu Abraham Lincoln your film JF Kennedy the omudu ye no krampo no o se still na ye be come deep on that se na be ye be nya abakwasem no o ma yehu say kase Jesuit fo they carry much weight in the world in terms of giving them order to implement certain things in there omudu ometumi aye pa e ma yehu video bi say abra yekum Abraham Lincoln no na Jesuit for the pie san say wetietie omo na ntira che efa omo nyama bia na nkomo ya Abraham Lincoln ko da ne di Abraham Lincoln no nye lawyer or court through the school system nanso na American recognition recognizing say or your pure lawyer to charge so for bia nanso so for na ka tie ni say what did Jimmy nanso me ra ho I don't know about it. What Jimmy nanso me ra ho adan consequences na ba so no entina ma me ra wofa eneso obeto aso ama na ya to aso pepe
that's yo edika be chi afefo nyina
afefo so da wase
na otwetwe mu me kan say yasemo aye kan ya de be ko another level nti no ye babu brom nya hwese na esije ekoba say Abraham Lincoln Jesuit free anamuntu ema yiyi ni fi asase so no ekoba say America for any Vatican breaking diplomatic relations.
Okay.
One breaking relations no nyina ni say wọ́n so wọ́n ntiase say Vatican abrantie ba ku bia no ka conspirators no ho John Wilkes Booth any nkofu bi na bopo maami bi ye fe no Mary Stuart oni ni ba John Stuart na maami ni fie kwa na no mu hia nti asem no ba we ye no Vatican di John Stuart na hia akusi ena America process one fana ma now I'm facing justice there and you know share tin tanto ya breaking diplomatic relations intiano ne buy one breaking relations no in 1865 America for ne Vatican eto nkwanta mpaye copy say President Ronald Reagan name was 1984 ena afi America any Vatican sa re-establishing diplomatic relations eno ma Reagan ben Vatican American president bia no na seven assembly wo ho enye na no meka
okay
yoko enim no ene meka
okay
nti no time no Musa resume diplomatic relations were captured here the complicated history of popes and US presidents can say Reagan Osama ma Vatican inya home kakra ode home ye buy diplomatic relations between US and the Vatican were broken off in 1865 because of the Vatican's support for the Confederacy and because the Pope sheltered John Surratt. Omuno book we can say the murderer, a conspirator.
Okay.
Okan ho no mukum we. So can say mfa no branga. Story ni nyina wo ha. So nyam kan na enkinkan.
Okay.
Vatican involvement and abranti one family for yen family ko bi ha okopie na akokan buku ya assassination na ni nyina ewu nti akire no na say Reagan ba ya restore diplomatic relations when Jordan Maxwell if you no so ye no say founding fathers who America for presa word no and I am praying for mutiti o man o mu pesi enya fa hundie o mu pesi bia betra fa hundie so considering the experience na nya ye emra woman for peja o mu ye persecution o mu the inquisition ba ye dwane fi wa be pi America ni fi say enenu bibia fa ni so indian na ho emobi sa metra fa hundie so enu ntino sa two principles no a wo kan ho asem as representing the two horns of the lamb, the lamb-like beast. Republicanism and now founding fathers initially say Roman Catholic Church dear yempewa mu America ne empewa mu America China enam de omu ye eni nema omu ye nti almost so I can say most more Protestant image. Yes, we are fighting against Protestantism. In the economy so no America what be a target. In the economy so no buy. Well, first video because explaining Yemeni nya dia ukwa how cancer obema. The first video.
The first video no the Jesuit clandestinely entered America against the wishes of the founding fathers, Jordan Maxwell. And narrative same way.
One group that the founding fathers back in 1700s, when they founded the United States of America as a republic, not a democracy, they founded the United States as a republic. They said there were two things that the founding fathers did not want in this country, and it's written that way. The two groups that they did not want coming into this country were lawyers and the Catholic Church, the Vatican. The Vatican was not allowed to operate on the property we call the United States of America. Well, when people were going west, back in the 1800s, when mankind was leaving the East Coast and going west, you can ask any military guy, what does the word mission mean? As a mission is a military term for a military operation. It's called a mission. That's a military term. Well, that's why California and the west of the United States has mission. They have Catholic missions. Mission is a military term. The mission was set up by the Jesuits. And so they were coming into this country the back way. The corporation called the United States did not want the Catholic Church here in America at all. Right. They specifically stated that. But the Jesuits, they went across the country, and how they did it, they came through Mexico, they came through Canada, and slipped into the country and founded what they call missions, Catholic missions. And so it was a military establishment of the Catholic Church, a Roman Church, inserting itself into the United States of America with missions. And so that's why today the Jesuits are a military order within the Catholic Church. And, you hear people say, well, the Pope doesn't have any troops. Well, what can he do? He has no troops. America's got the troops. European leaders have got the troops. What does the Pope have? He just got a bunch of priests. No, he doesn't. He has a very most incredibly brilliant theoretical physicist in the world. They're called Jesuits. They know exactly how to play your number. They know exactly how to get you to hate somebody else and start a war. They know precisely how to run the world with chaos, because out of chaos comes control. It's called ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. And so this is why I am sure that the Jesuits are behind all of the stuff going on in Europe right now, because the Europeans are involved in reestablishing the Nazi Party today in Europe. It's called the Euro. It's actually a Nazi idea provided for by and directed by Jesuits and the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church is trying to reestablish the rule of the Roman Empire over the whole earth, and they're calling it the New World Order. It's an incredible story of betrayal, and so many people see the Catholic Church and have no idea in the world what this thing is really all about, where this Christianity actually came from, what it teaches, and all the sexual symbolism and violence and wars and bloodshed. All of this stuff is being fed to the human race, and this is why we're in trouble today, because our people, like the Bible says, God says to his people, My people are dying from a lack of knowledge.
Right.
And there's another scripture that is a very important one as far as I'm concerned. It says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there is no vision, the people perish. That simply means when the whole nation has no vision of what's going on, they have got the faintest idea in the world what they're doing. They're not being told by the government anything because the government is a big club and you ain't in it. And so they're telling you what they want you to know to keep you occupied. And so until you realize that where there is no vision, the people are dying from a lack of knowledge. I think that is what the Catholic Church is doing for America. It's helping to keep our people ignorant, ill-informed, and make sure the mafia, La Cosa Nostra, and the organized crime around the world coming out of Rome, out of Italy. I mean, all you got to do is go back and watch Godfather 3, the third one in the series, Godfather 3, where Michael Corleone, the mafia in New York, is inside the Vatican, dealing with Secretary of State, and then you begin to see how organized crime is working hand in hand daily with the Vatican. So once you see how our world is really run and who's running things and how it works, it's going to shock you. It will shock you into realizing that the world we live in has been organized and directed a long time ago before you and your mother was ever born. There was already organized crime in Europe 1,000 years ago. And you find out that Adolf Hitler was financed, organized, and directed the Nazi Party by the Jesuits. The Jesuits are the brains behind the Nazi Party. And the Jesuit symbols are used in the Nazi Party. The Jesuits are also responsible for giving the world today the Communist Party. The Soviet Union is a Jesuit operation. And so today all over the world where you have communists still pushing their so-called democracy, the so-called Democratic Party, in Europe the communists are referred to as Christian Democrats. There's a term that used to be all over Europe. It was called Christian Democrats. Christians because they were Jesuit, they were Catholic, so therefore they were Christian, and they were Democrats. Were promoting their idea of democracy, which is dividing the people against each other and letting everybody have a piece of the action to get in a war and a fight with everybody else. And that's what's going on today. When you see all this invasion of the European culture, it's the same idea. The Vatican is destroying European civilization with the idea of putting together something new, a new world order, in which there will be no more individuality, no more creativity, no more nationalism. There'll be one big, happy communist concentration camp called the New World Order. And the Vatican and the Jesuits are the brains behind.
Now, with me, Etsy Jordan Maxwell, in Chiri Muning, I'm say, Seno Tibi, Yamutre, Etchi Chirimu, Okono Boko, to Otiasie, a Quan of Faso, or Sasie, Efa, Jesuit, for Quam of Faso, Ebira, America, Ninano, Nindi, or Mopeso, Muyin, Jordan Maxwell, and Yamutre. Etumi achiri mama amwati asie senesity enti we de men sebre na men call fanchen na de oho na ye monitor over
enti senior obi no kan no new world order no eba no ye be yi ankwankro fa hudi afri ho it is like moving in a communist environment we ni anwa bekasa and on a class swap. Some can say women be synchronized into class swap. Yeah, class swap great research, is based on George Orwell book 1984.
Okay.
BBI surveillance. The BLOODSHED assassination should be a woman. Into me, and I can say, media, you are me.
You don't have any right.
Be any home, and only a dear woman for the because only the number one enemy of freedom and justice. That's what I can.
Okay.
And maybe I don't know. The next video, no, 1910.
Okay.
1910. And a group beer. A nickname First Name Club. The deal by First Name Club meeting on the private train car. If you New York, I know Jekyll Island, off the coast of Georgia.
Okay.
A whole Shiawo, we have here from JP Morgan, the estates. A meeting say, the president, the creative Central Bank, a friend of Federal Reserve. Now, and go be a house, you can be so one was in favor of central banking no mo say one de ban it is also move ya o mu akọ one person obi a behu ye bebo obi a dia na who we say so one say First Name Club engineer senior Michael Owanko Israel any Thomas and the kekan said you me go ye bo obi a di emma na campus say what who say asumasi and engineer no mo for mo First Name Club. First Name on the air. Into Shia or meeting them going to take you 9 days. And some of them draw conclusion and who say, Ampa, okay. The second video, video, who said, you need na se ekoba se ye no motwa ka kwa mu a o mu di mika ne twam yeso bi o mu nante designer zebra crossing edu ha no na eyi ani no obehu no masre ye ko his abisa zara fa kamera the second video etwa jumedi so se na minimum no a group nickname First Name Club and the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank and only in the second video ye behwe it is ayakradwa jegumumai na ye.
Fast forward to the early 20th century, and after 2 failed attempts, a group of bankers wanted to put a central bank in the United States of America. It was December of 1910, and Senator Nelson Aldrich boarded a private train car in New York with 6 others. The 6 were not to be spotted by any news reporters to avoid questions. Their destination? Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia. The meeting went for 9 days, and from that, they created the Federal Reserve System. This is all documented and a matter of public record. Some of them went on to write about the meetings in their personal biographies. Here's a quote from Frank Vanderlip, president of the National City Bank of New York, February 9th, 1935, in the Saturday Evening Post.
I was as secretive, indeed as furtive as any conspirator. Discovery, we knew, simply must not happen, or else all our time and effort would be wasted. If it were to be exposed that our particular group had got together and written a banking bill, that bill would have no chance whatever of passage by Congress.
The 6 men that Nelson Aldrich brought together included the head of banks, branches of government such as the Treasury, and some of the richest people on earth at the time. To give you an idea of how rich they were, in 1910, these 6 men represented a quarter of the world's worth. The bank told the American public that the purpose of the system was to stabilize the economy and to stop the grip of the Wall Street banks over America. The problem was, the guys that wrote the bill were the very same people they said they'd stop. If they succeeded, it will give a small group of men the ability to create money from nothing and loan it to the American government with interest. So why was it done in secret? Because the American people didn't want a central bank. Back then, unlike today, people knew what central banks were and understood them very well. Everywhere a central bank went, there'll be wealth inequality, wild swings between economic booms and busts, and after each bust, those at the top of society mysteriously came out richer while everyone else got poorer. Europe was the running example of this at the time. The Federal Reserve was originally drafted as the Aldrich Bill, but when it came into Congress, they recognized Senator Aldrich's name and smelt a rat. The bankers needed better cover. They decided to send 2 millionaire friends to carry the bill to quell the suspicions of Congress and renamed it the Federal Reserve Act. Next, in a textbook lesson of deceit, the bankers set out to fool the American people through disinformation. In the newspapers of the day, the bankers screamed and protested against the new Federal Reserve Bill. It would ruin the banks, they exclaimed. The average person read the protesting articles of the bankers and thought to themselves, if the bankers hate it, it must be good. And then they ended up unknowingly supporting a Trojan horse. The bankers also fooled Congress by putting clauses in the bill that limited their power, only to remove them once the bill was passed. A double head fake of the public and Congress was all it took. The bill was passed on December 23, 1913, while most of Congress was out on holiday. And with that, a small group had complete monopoly over the issuing and creation of American money.
With that, I was saying that I said when you have a tray and when you have that, you know, with me, I share video to me, you know, I banking. Ne Federal Reserve na incomodia ye ka ho asem no eno ni history ene yiti na history no so wunya daje ehwe ni ye ya ye keka akobaabi ti nyabeternity storyline no bibia de ba ko bi omo over
na book bi o ho no mo a the friend the creature from Jekyll Island picture ba ko a ene ye behwe no book no cover no sanity ti say
okay, so the creature from Jekyll Island. Inti se oha the picture inti se oha ma yenhwe sana isi etie. Okay, over that so.
And you know the whole story of the creation of the Federal Reserve it will book with him. Ebia o busuani bi o America no betu enye bia to abrewa.
Okay.
Na chese. No. Now, I'm going to meeting next year. That was 1910. 1913, and son will meeting I established. And in between 1910 and 1913, young play, now, when the Jesuits of them, from the 1 minute, so I'm one plane. And there's a Sadia. Sankofono as he take care of them. And you look at here, JP Morgan, on a White Star Line, any company. I will more catch and say, my company, no, and build the ship will be mine. I friend of Titanic. Yea. The South Titanic story, because secondary school, from 2, and you won't be a version of it. And when they are rank organization for production, a night to remember. The story of the Titanic, the launching the first major voyage, it could be a sinking year. And I'm sure sad story. But today, almost a year, for the new changing story. Temple Satam never. Me akola kitwa den na minim na minim bibia sa but dem hu ya ne say they can say ship na ko hit iceberg ama su abam tie sinkinti ye rescue operation you know say boat na ye di nipa be gumu a e di be kon kwa na short ansana omude emra bi ba say eye nkwala ene ema any more dekai more ya rescue and do a bema or where is okay in your antiasia a trainer research I'm who say why would the ship no buy say a death ship more your say Federal Reserve Central Bank na dey ban musumon pleno ene the pam we abaka ya dum gum ya kwa kusimu epoasi as a move finance and next time move we asi bi mu a move position to eniema bebre ya kan ya no akon no to no apuso ejo amu hihye no a wo mo bedi wie obi akanfo so ship we dey wa esun eyese any luxury na no next week any ebe kan no ho asem na esikafo a Jesuit wono ye market mu say ya de yampne no omu kan so ship we dey munti ne ye yo mun take cruise ma bre munuma mo ye ni na ya pese mu take holiday mo no mo yire ni ma na say wa bi luxurious trip ni mo mako nko jimoni na mo nko And you know, they were able to get opposition voting on board. No, can say, winning baby, I'm winning one guy. More yet, they are more ye. It is a pure a ship, no captain. One of the Jesuits. I know you on the Jesuit oath. And you know, a coba say instructions that the man only say sink the ship.
John the man, no.
One the man captain, no. And you could do that, iceberg, no. How can you could speak? And then go send the signals. Hey, slow down. A whole iceberg. And in the US, as a captain, you could see you. The captain also, you see him. Okay. One person be able to know. What we do, Queenstown, Ireland. That was the last stop. I don't know quite a far Irish about a grassroots way between a bit call for greener pastures. Into a minute I remember a ship. And what really was said a probably any abo Ediamo be say ye kwa kukuno. Ye heard third video.
I was a son of a can let us say a great story. I was a video toss me and son the Jesuit, Jesuit in Semiana, the Jesuit, the Federal Reserve, and the Titanic. And then in video I ever share. So I story, no. Sonia, I'm creating Federal Reserve now. A Sikafono, so I'm on penny, no. And Jamon penny, a hona Jesuit for say. Some penny dia and the wagon fufubi and the Sunday tell their JP Morgan create ship beer. You don't confuse big no more coaching, no more coaching, you be sink ship. And I can a Titanic, no fees a Juliet and Romeo story. Sana, a guitar other version. It is a yakradwa, Mama Yeshe.
In order to create the central bank, certain obstacles had to be overcome. First, those opposed to a central bank would need to be removed, and secondly, the law would need to be changed, or simply appear to be changed. To deal with the troublesome individuals who opposed a central bank, the Jesuits spared no expense. They built a ship of death called the Titanic.
The sinking of the Titanic was the design of the Jesuit order to get rid of the opposition to the creation of a central bank in the United States.
And the men on the Titanic were opposed to a central bank. They had to die. Among those were John Jacob Astor, Isidor Straus, Benjamin Guggenheim, and a host of other millionaires who were opposed to a central bank in America. Therefore, they had to be taken out of the way. And they were on the Titanic.
The company building the ship was owned by J.P. Morgan, who was himself an agent of the Rothschilds family, the Rothschilds being the bankers for the Pope and the Vatican. The main Jesuit targets were brought on board. The captain of the ship was Edward John Smith. It appears from his actions that Captain Smith was a Jesuit coadjutor, that is, a Jesuit who has taken the oath but does not wear the robes. A coadjutor blends into the scenery and never looks like a Jesuit priest. It is a veteran sea captain, Edward Smith, who orders the ship to travel through an 80-square-mile ice field at full speed on a moonless night. There had been over 8 telegrams warning the captain of the danger.
He's warned 8 times, slow the ship down, slow the Titanic down, you're going too fast. Not once stopped. Knew there was an iceberg field up ahead, knew that he should have slowed down, but didn't. And so you look and you say, how was it that this man could go headlong into a field of icebergs and not slow the ship down, not be more careful? The only conclusion you can draw is, as a coadjutor of the Jesuit order, right through the line, the chain of command, he was told, sink the ship. And he did. On board the Titanic, And this is all documented in a National Geographic video that was put out in 1986. You can go to your local library and they'll either have it on hand or they can, get it on library loan. But on that videotape, it shows that as the Titanic was coming up along the coast of England, it had various stops. And at one stop, a Jesuit priest got on board. His name was Francis Brown. Francis Brown got on board the Titanic, took pictures of all of the wealthy people, took pictures of Edward Smith, the captain, and then just before the Titanic set sail across the Atlantic, Francis Brown got off. And then, of course, the Titanic sunk.
Well, Francis Brown is given a camera by his bishop, by his uncle, the bishop, and he is told to go down and take all these pictures of all these people we're going to kill in first class. And so that's what he does. He takes picture of all these rich people, everybody that's there is going to go down, and a rich passenger offers him passage. Well, he knows the ship's going to go down, but he very sheepishly got in contact with his provincial. And the provincial's message was, get off that ship.
Like Brown, another noted passenger, Jesuit agent J.P. Morgan, did not make the ill-fated sea voyage. Even though booked on the ship for passage to America, Morgan also fortuitously canceled at the last minute.
Of course, J.P. Morgan, he had his own suite reserved for him. And there were some 55 men who at the last minute canceled their reservations on the Titanic. J.P. Morgan was one of them. Said he was sick. Oh, by the way, and don't load any of my art treasures on the Titanic either. So he didn't have any of his art treasures on it either. Didn't lose any of that.
How do we know there was foul play involved with the Titanic? When the iceberg was sighted, it was First Officer Murdoch who attempted to port around the deadly object. This was sound enough, but Murdoch also ordered the engines into reverse. Author Wynne Wade asked the obvious question. As long as Murdoch was trying to veer out of the iceberg's way, why had he jammed on the brakes, so to speak, by throwing the engines full speed astern? In point of fact, the 1910 edition of Knight's Modern Seamanship clearly contradicted Murdoch's decision. The instructions are clear. Avoid reversing the engines. Wade sums up the situation by saying, Murdoch had maneuvered in a manner more likely to cause collisions than to prevent them. As with many who investigated the Titanic disaster, author Wynne Wade was at a loss to explain Murdoch's actions in going against the book. But the captain and Murdoch's actions were not the only telltale signs of treachery on the night the Titanic sank.
We see all sorts of anomalies in the Titanic. For example, when it was sinking, the emergency flares were to be red so that ships in those lanes could see the Titanic was in trouble. Well, someone had taken away the red flares and replaced them with white flares, making it look like we were shooting off flares and having a party. And then the loading of the boats, we know that was a fraud. They didn't allow the lifeboats to be completely loaded. They were only half loaded, some 1/3 loaded, because the targets in the first class could not be allowed to board. And the Jesuits were not only the captain, but his officers, and there had been a strike in England at the time, and the men who were normally the ones who would man the ocean liners, they were replaced by Jesuit coadjutors ready to board because they were all under oath to die for the Black Pope if necessary, and so they did carry out the sinking of the Titanic.
But how is it possible that men will commit suicide as Captain Smith and some of his hand-picked crew obviously did?
We have to understand that these men have died to their own self-will. And so they have completely been emptied of their own personalities, and upon the order of their commander will do exactly what they're told. There's no such thing as a disobedient Jesuit. This serves as a warning to all the other men of power, not only in our country, but in England and Europe. You mess with us, and we're going to do to you what we did to all those people in Titanic, and we're going to thwart the investigation. because a subsequent investigation of the sinking of Titanic blamed Bruce Ismay, the right-hand man of J.P. Morgan, and Captain Lord of England. They were the scapegoats when they could have easily blamed the men of power at that time. Saw who canceled their reservations. It was a Warren Commission all over again. 9/11 Commission all over again. It's a whitewash and cover-up, and that cover-up is even more powerful than the murder itself.
After many of the leading opponents to a central bank had been removed, the Jesuits moved to obtain passage of the 16th Amendment and the Federal Reserve Act, both in 1913.
So they created the Federal Reserve Bank to finance their crusades.
Abusua yɛda ase sɛ wotumi ahwɛ Titanic video kakra yɛde brɛ kwan a ɛfa so a ɛsenkiye na abakwasɛm ɛkyerɛ yɛ sɛ na nka mene wo yɛnim sɛ yɛ Juliet and Romeo story ɛna ka yɛhwɛ ɛyɛ nkɔfoɔ mmienu a ɔmo dɔ ɔmo ho na nkɔ wiase no na awofoɔ ne mpene na ɔmo senkiye na baako ɛka life saa story no yɛdane amu ebutu akyerɛ na mmom storyline nyinaa ne sɛ nanka America sɛ ne nyinaa yɛnim no ɔmo yɛ man bi a nanka ɔmo ne ɛyɛ Vatican state ɛncha sana kankasem na sɛ asante kasem ne yɛbɛka no ɔmo ne ɔmo nka enti ɔmo create biribi a sɛ ne yɛbɛyɛ a nanka ɛbɛyɛ adwuma enti yɛde reserve ɛbaeɛ ɛyɛ Federal Reserve sɛ na mo ne yɛka sɛ reserve a wa wonim sɛ ne sitie na saa Federal Reserve Bank no ɛbaeɛ no na esikafo ɔmo wɔ America no bebree na ase daabi yɛmpene ɛsiane sɛ sɛ ɛma ne yɛ saa nsisie ne nnaadaa bi ɛbɛbɛm enti dwumadie no kɔ so ɛnankron nkɔ wiaseɛ no na umpo yɛde hyɛ wo kɔn nanso nkɔ wiaseɛ no nyinaa no deɛ ɔmo so ɔmo so nkɔdi dwuma no ɔmo de asɛm no kɔma ɔmo mpanimfoɔ ɛyɛ Jesuit members orders no na ɔmo so ɔmo tena ase so hwan mo na ɔmo so ɔmo ngye ndi no ɔmo ngye ntum no ɛne ɛsɛ yɛpɛ baabi ma ɔmo no ɔmo firi asase so ɛno na yɛ contracted JP Morgan sɛ wobɛtumi ayɛ ship a yɛbɛtumi de di saa adwuma no na JP Morgan sɛ na wɔnim ɔka Rockefeller anaasɛ Rothschild abusua no ho sɛ na bɛyɛ a anka yɛka banking system a ɔno so ka ho enti deɛ ɛbaeɛ no sɛ ɔmotumi create saa ship no ɛma ɛbɛyɛ te sɛ deɛ mene wo yɛfrɛ Titanic na ɔmotumi influence sɛ saa na ɛteɛ deɛ a moayɛ adwuma brɛ moaboɔ man no nti monkɔ yɛ chilling monkɔ gye w'ani na ɔmoyɛ saa no so ɔmode afrafra kɔbɔ nnipa bebree bɛfrafrɛ mu nanso na ɔmonim nanso nkɔ wiase no na ɛyɛ kɔtɔ bɛkum wo ma ɔmo nkɔ akɔwu na ɔmo ɔda a ɛyɛ captain a ɔyɛ in charge of the ship ne sɛ wo ɛnɛ dwumadi ade ama sɛ sink ship no ɛsiane sɛ nkɔfoɔ mu wɔ mu nyinaa no ɔmbɛwu na wei na ɛyɛ panin bi a nanka ɔka Jesuitfoɔ ho ɛsiane sɛ saa panin na ɔnim nti sɛ no wɔfa ase ɛkɔdwane ɛyɛ deɛ yɛfrɛ no Francis Brown ɔhyɛ no sɛ na wo ship a wo so wotwitwa picture me ma order sɛ firi sisi a ntɔne deɛ ewuo ne deɛ anto no nkɔ wiase ni nyinaa no na ewuo no yɛahyehyɛ ato hɔ pɛpɛpɛ order na ɔmo hyehyɛ ni nyinaa no captain adi so na ship no ɛwɔ pono so na ɛkɔ no a anigye ne asa na adidi ɛkɔ so no ɛhɔ ɛna mu du bea bi a yɛfɛ ne iceberg sɛ nka mu yɛ Ghana yɛbɛka sɛ ɛyɛ blog a ahyɛ nsuo no so no ɛhɔ no ɛna captain no nkɔ sɛ ɔto no bo no ɛsiane sɛ yɛde ahyehyɛ ama no sɛ nkonku wɔ mu nti ɔde mirika tɛntɛ ɛna ɛkɔɔyɛ ɛhɔ ɛna ɛma ship no ɛsenkeeɛ a nipakuo a ɛwɔ mu nyinaa no obi biara yɛamotu biara kɔ asamado enti saa na story no ɛteɛ nti Juliet and Romeo story no ɛno no the real Titanic story ɛnɛ yɛ explain yɛ akyerɛ wo na ɛnyɛ ɔdɔ bi na mmom ɛyɛ wuo akwantu a ɔmo kɔwi wɔ apum ɛda ase ɔva
enti no mede ma no bɛsi no ɛnsɛ Father Brown Jesuit ayi no a yɛka kyerɛ me sɛ firi ship no mu si no ɛne ɛyɛ ɔsere into 2 minutes a day in the Bible have Father Brown pictures are no call why twa woman no worship no so a mu tu kwan no and said you know can it means I mudia munim and say she am biom The Munanti you. Where last video? Father Brown, Father Brown. Shape of pictures. I was your last video never for any giant coin. A Jesuit priest, Father Francis Brown, on the Titanic taking photograph and disembarks at the Queenstown, Ireland. Ena yebeshe na find the video di giant coin on the crowd. Jagumai na it me
said to be unsinkable. On April 10, 1912, Titanic's maiden voyage began. With their maids, valets, and chauffeurs, their mountains of baggage, the rich travel in a style almost unknown today. In an age that worshipped wealth, the 325 first-class passengers were an awesome assembly. Titanic sailed from Southampton at noon. She was expected to reach New York in just 7 days, with 2,228 people aboard her. There are a few authentic pictures taken aboard Titanic on her first and last voyage. A vacationing priest, Father Francis Brown, caught these poignant snapshots of his fellow passengers, most of them on a voyage to eternity. The next day, Titanic made her last stop, pausing off the coast at Queenstown, Ireland. Here, tenders brought out the last passengers, mostly Irish immigrants headed for new homes in America. And here, the lucky Father Brown disembarked, taking these pictures on his way. Father Brown caught Captain Smith peering down from Titanic's bridge, poised on the brink of destiny. Then Titanic sailed into the twilight zone of legend. She would not be photographed again for 73 years, vanished in all but human memory.
I was saying that I said with me, I share a year Father Francis Brown. No offer it me a savino, no way free a room, send a CC, and go one cow beheaded. Continue. And I say, Baba. With money this year, you I know any desire. No one no offense, you can't tell any saying, no, if I can't tell any say, hey. No, my wonderful. We will so. The men continue. Yeah. Okay. If I say next one, the story of the Titanic. We got to say, if I put down the Tibiano, Obama, maybe I don't know. You try to now, your dear craft for and craft for Abbasisia, now, maybe I cost my papa. In the time, you could choose for my Abbasisia.
Free the Mind Movement presents Zion Ladies Holy Conference. I will Kumase Edum Closer Call. Sadano, Jumedieno, Ebeye Bonfrete. Housekeeping, a year if you more assetana, ni Edian ya Ebebua, Emma Ebusiano Enyiniache. Naso Kaise, Apomudini Cassia, I will if ye be or Paris James, Ebe Casafa, upon ye duara, Ebe Casafa, organic, a year GMO. And also, dear, any DNG, Nina, a Becoso, I will a doom Kumase, I will closer call. A Zion Ladies and a Modiba, any dear Ekeka, Kaise, Sadano, on the 4th 4th to 6th January 2024. Saupe Jumediemu Embisemu and Shemu Bia for 020-531-4000. And also say 024-6875-186. A Zion Ladies Holy Conference, Kumasi, a health talk, a few more sitna, a Abrabomusem, Mama Africa, James Opari, upon Yeduara Eric, and when he guest artist. A beya bonfrete. Free the Mind Movement presents Zion Ladies Holy Conference. Ewo Kumasi Edum Closer Call. Sadano Jumedieno Ebeye Bonfrete. Housekeeping eye efiemu asetena ni aduane ya ebeboa ema ebusuanu enyiniache. Nanso kaise apomuden kase ewo efie biemu. Opari James ebe kasafa ho. Opon Yeduara ebe kasafa ho. Organic eye GMO. Eno so aduane die ene die yendi ni nyina ebe koso ewo edum Kumasi ewo Closer Call. Eye Zion Ladies eno modiba ene die ekeka ho. Kaise sadano eye on the 4th to 6th January 2024. Saupe Jumediemu Embisemu and Shemu Bia for 020-531-4000. And also say 024-6875-186.
Wasa ababak na mino na ebe say Asia na ebe din komo na ebe to aso sele ofa ene odi enwre mu no odi asi yedu Israel enkroma enchen ono so ene odi ebe wrem na yehudu owo man sele ofa ene ama ya sere ene yesi obi wu every ship mu no minim the Israel ene bebe ene abisa Zion Ladies Conference no sele woni mu no advert no etwa go TV no so na yekase Zion Ladies are one of the most powerful women who are more free the mind movement mo na omuju e dey po mu di no de bebre na on the 4th to 6th January 2024 and the Saj Medi na ye kase bebre no on beda bebre di ewo eye Kumasi Closer Call sending na enimu no on the 4th and then 6th of January 2024 na sada no se na wonnim no kasa bebre e na be koso eye apomudene kasa efie asetena abrabo ene de ekeka ho a ebetumi aboa na ebusua atena ase ache ni nyina no ebe koso eye sada no on the 4th and then 6th of January 2024 Closer Call hono dwumedi no ebe koso na ye kase Zion Ladies na se ne tie no last week MC ebimu ka se nka omo pese se Zion Ladies omudwedi omudi nyina no akamutumi enkoju enfangu krata so anase buku na omutumi enya copies na omudko mu fiefia na nka omutumi enya bia kenkan na beye enda hobi amomo emse still na empenifo e de ko adwendwunum se ehu be hia ni nyina no ebe koso iza Zion Ladies
yo bechia ayofo nyina omo yankopon boa am say next month and omo akokumase mina kwa makobi if I say education a weapon if you know offer video we akwa na twa camera no ono nujo nse ka ba take sa photo zana wako enti no fa no ene boa no onim dia kwenti no ene boa no ko wi so wonu dia for mo a okay ade ene se kun ne kun wo wonu dia for mo a ade ene se kun no ene kun ene ko kan yan yare o e se kwa ku yes na ene Ghana no yele bebe no ano ana enye free kitchen okay ejade ona ina ede free okay se o yere ampa o yere o do yere nanso no o yere no ehenim die butum da hwa no ma de hia pa okay okay se o yere kama kasa we nim dia menka asoro hu ndie o okay meka ababam ndie asetena ndie ahweye hu ndie adidie hu ndie obegyina hye ehun se o ma astati ewo obeshira o mama tan kopo ba frawa ba frawo Enti na program na ba so no. Obi biara aposo ko bibiara no. Omo nyi ska o. Free. Ko samna no ko tie bi. Ne bia obetumi save oba say our life.
Okay.
Enti na ko pombo next about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know, we wish them good luck. Chia Kujo, if you call Gambia,
okay,
was so a man after. And you know, Kujo, you know, I'm just saying, what about Bobo Mubiano? I'm here, I'm welcome.
Okay,
yeah, sponsor.
Okay,
Bobo London, or Bobo,
okay,
Bobo Gambia, Bobo. If you want to be an hour more, we the boy man of Viano. Yeah, we come on.
Okay,
so Baba. For V. For V. KJB. That was it.
Okay.
And at the papa, where your money in that was it. Look here, into a man. I'm going to bomb a ding. I'm educating the pa. The Nipa Ira. Yali Kunipa. Yali Kunipa. We can't be market. So, only in the winter. Only in the winter. Until we buy Yali no. A fan free at the end.
Okay.
And then, so we need to have one in the air. We have a photo. In doing it, no. Oh, cool. Solo killing. No cop. Intino. Program no. A man of Cocoye. I'm fighting the Comagana for. Manuasi.
That's it. Said India and maybe you have a 2 bomb.
Yo, Maka. Michiam Baba.
Okay.
Son Empress Makida.
Okay.
I beg you, avoid Mammy Yabi into TV one or shade man. Yeah. Obakana Korea. You couldn't know. Then you did my fashion man. Last week, you know, okay. Yawadano.
Yeah.
You must have been framing. If you miss an or a Jesuit. Now, as some American, a Hano, or from free Emisano, a Elimina, or catching sign or a Jesuit. Now, some American, every year. It's fine, Rebecca. Now, Mark here, you say be a Isro, Debbie. So, how many people who cry? How many people who cry? One away.
Be to me.
Thank you. If you ask me, say, Ubu one more, Ubu, Ubin Jassi.
Yeah.
TB Joshua. No, you will be sitting there
up to now. Maybe an anti-Assia.
Some of you are, and now for come once a mean. One method which you buy. There's 18 years in it. No blame in Tadia. T-shirt of a they're trading JP Morgan Company. Now we have the call of office. So we're not our BM, not our Savoy man. I have been at Quaku, the year. I'm not a Jerry. So a T-shirt, I didn't be the way anymore. So, JP Morgan. I don't know to David of the Encounter share. Come on, say. Back here. No penny within the geo. Oh, who do man as oh, go at all. So, JP Morgan, my baby. Of it, Papa. No, okay, a bit more serious at the bonnet. At the bonnet, Papa. Na what's the eka? Some say I history. Or say mama for ehunu. The Wilson airport. And into a same one more. I saw them how young can ho. So for so don't Imam Onka. When you say something for me dangerous. Every afraid. If you miss I know. I saw a Jesuit priest. The eka ye. Back here. Yeah. And you want to say, or Henny, or Mampany be a bar, no court room. obi nti ase amampani bebia na me kaka na hampopo me ka wiase nyina no amache e de ko Rome akochia pope edi entra ewiase no enye se Bible no ye de wa no ze ko pastor ntri wa wi o so wo sua Bible no yi a so no yi esan se enkofo wiase a omo ye untouchable ntumfa sanka baby hwe omo tinchwa ma ne ewiase nyina asebeti omo hodo defense the bronya mwa sa pepe enana dwo beti yeah omo bibia in order enkremofo kura no akoto no akisefo akoto no juufo akoto no amampani omo wiase nyina no akoto no se unya maya mampani a asono usunko unya ko pie dibri has pepe a usuna asesa kata da ha blueprint okay kan na wo say asa me ko eti Muhammad ka cheba unya say o fu maya mampani da na wo kan ye asa ka mo o mama maya mampani da not being close to the president no ono nim de o give that so nti no ka sa no ahwe yie nti mo ma asafo den kan chwa mo ma no nti se ye ka o se msafo an kan chira me ti bi anya me kore safo suru enkwa de pa onim pa enkwa na de ntira ntu kan kwa nchira no na so bi aso be sei obeyi enkopa aduma na bokoro eye yare afa aka Titanic ship ihe kwa ehwebi Titanic you say a lovely Romeo and Juliet yeah awale ya ho ne odo ne na tana yin ya ship no afudaka wonu gumi na mkonko wonderful we did not transit aye ship no so mkonko captain so also akwako and then da afa ebu akuduro papa e say so me de bibi ba ebu me se mu so mo kwante no yi mu fro no mo a yen sa hwe baba bu ko so do pedinto and that's biem okay afa aye ache wo de bu ko ma ya che okay 15 years ni the secret terrorist okay obusu wo no mo a mo bi odifri ho ano de bi oba shubo na papa we kwa ofreneva obusu de onipa police ni bi ko police ko de ho is bla 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 nti o papa no onipa odidi nti onipa odidi Zare. I say it's bit so short. You know, papa no some this. Michael. Papa. Me come asem. E wiase we see. Bible kan. I say bonsam etumi je no ho de e han bofo. Bible kan. Bonsam etumi je no ho e han bofo. Angel of light. Ohun da. No deal. Yeah. Odi Jesuit. Yaka. Jesuit. Obi kwa ponti da. So I program we say no TD Jesuit. Omo je hwan nom. Right? Yeah. Good. Oh yeah, women dia omunim. Ejuma mudi. Okay. Omo na asoro no. The dachi. Pope, the dachi na no. Omo so na si. Jesuit no. Okay. Until Roman kingdom. Pope the bambo. Asono no koso nyina no. Omo le kura wo mo. Omo ye militia at the Roman church and the Pope. Okay. Omo mampani. That's why when Roman asono anko ni ya dead man. Omo bika. We are dead man. Obi pe no But say of ya enya asora asama ya kana so dem wonu no na o kan kwatra o to go dey fa minimum o dey ko high level yeah omo ya dey bi omo say aso ya make on ibokara o Roma safo no kasem we say aso big brother wa he Tio, emperor, a king, a president, or a pope, the small boy, the utter boy. Hey, let me say, Ova, the team say, hey, I said, baby. So we are monpening, so baby, as I say, pet, you know, we are pope, no, the utter boy. Boy. Mr. Book will say, the secret terrorist. Who are the Quabini Biato? Michael, be carefree. Page 23. Okay. Yo, Matty. I was saying, we saw a Jumedi and said I wouldn't even know. The secret terrorist, you know, Emma, yeah, come was on page 22, and I yeah, kind. Calhoun was not a loyal citizen of the United States. He worked to advance the Pope agenda. He seemed to be an American, but was really a Jesuit in the Pope's army. In an effort to destroy America. To destroy America. Pope Philan makes his statement. Why if the Pope, priest Philan, priest Philan makes his statement? Why, if the government of the United States were at war with the church, we would say tomorrow, to hell with the government of the United States. And if the church and all the governments of the world were at war, we will say to hell with all the governments of the world. Why isn't the Pope has such a tremendous power? Why the Pope, kings, or all the priests, all the princes, or the president of the priest Philan, Western Watchman, June 27, 1912. One kind of year. That's how question be about Lamame. Sorry, I say why the Pope is the ruler. Start if. Okay, let's start if. The government of the United States. Okay. We're at war with the church. So America or mine, or Roma, so I couldn't talk. Or say to hell with the American states. Okay. To hell. Who is America? Against the church. If the church and all the government of the world were at war, we say to hell with all the government of the world. Why is it the Pope has such tremendous power? Why the Pope is the ruler of the world? All the emperors, all the kings, all the princes, all the presidents of the world are those who are as these authors boys of mine. What? Pope no boy. Pope no boy. Okay. Into the first video. Pope no boy. Pope, I know you're seeing I'm a penny handful. I thought for a share, boy. I was so I can't, but Jabu, my na intimi entry, na bibi uncos my
Conciliation in the air in St. Peter's. Centuries of division were rolled away when Pope Francis greeted Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew from Istanbul during the inaugural Mass. Such a meeting has not taken place since what is known as the Great Schism, which split Western and Eastern Christianity in 1054. 34 world leaders had attended the Mass and delegates from 132 countries were present, while the Vatican said 6 sovereigns had made the trip to Rome, including from Belgium and Monaco. One of the first greetings was for the President of Italy, Giorgio Napolitano. An Italian cardinal had been one of the strong favourites to succeed Benedict XVI. before Pope Francis was elected. Crown Prince Philippe of Spain and his wife were among those the Pope greeted. Philippe was one of 3 Crown Princesses who was present. There were no invitations sent out. All who wanted to be there were, said the Vatican, warmly welcomed. There was a brief chat with Robert Mugabe and his wife. The President of Zimbabwe is a devout Roman Catholic. Behind him, in line and waiting to meet the Pope, leaders from the European Union, from where President Mugabe is barred for alleged breach of human rights. The Vatican is a sovereign state outside the EU, and so he was free to travel to the inaugural Mass. The Vatican had made it clear no one would have privileged status or be refused. Joe Biden, the Vice President of the United States, had made the journey. Throughout the brief meetings, as with the Foreign Minister for Iran, Ali Akbar Salehi, Pope Francis was relaxed in what was his first taste of handshake diplomacy. Speaking afterwards, British Cabinet Minister Baroness Varsi, who was at the Mass, said the Pope will remain neutral in the row between Britain and Argentina over the Falkland Islands. Her comments came a day after the President of Argentina, Cristina Kirchner, met the Pope and said he could help promote dialogue between London and Buenos Aires.
Abuja yada asese wetumi anya bre na sere wo for Israel e ka no wo boboy no e na me be sensi su biom na wati asese ampa de ye kan na ye se e bosrim ka na so ye fact and evidence e betumi e de achiro. Also, why if the government of the United States were at war with the church, we would say tomorrow to hell with the government of the United States. And if the church and all the government of the world were at war, we say to hell with the government of the world. Why is it the Pope has such a tremendous power? Why the Pope is the ruler of the world? All the emperors, all the kings, all the princes, all the presidents of the world are as these altars boys of mine. Omuko chichi anu nyina omo doso e video no ya kate se no be ya dwumedi no e beto aso ira
okay boy omo mechi anu no ndi so mu be ma mpanin so ko Vatican ono nim de nti a oko here we chere de e hu no se okuchia papa no but onim se e de nim se papa no
say no tie
sa nti tumi na ekuta no na ade bi wiase enwa pa America
okay
Africa ba come last week Abraham Lincoln ba ko so America che Pope no makel owo power ma ehu to kill American president Yezo
security
to kill American president Yezo a former Penny John F. Kennedy, Obi no, Obi Atendinda, American F. Kennedy. F. Kennedy, Roman, the world fed home. And Obinia Akudano, a better so. Or your campaign, Montpenny, or really, or White House. But American Penny. About Montpenny pet. And your phone, free Vatican City. And your phone say, Mr. President, congratulations. We are from Vatican City, Jesuits. We want to ask you, what do America and the law will be a man and serve the Vatican? Now, America and Penny, I think American formula. Not so David. But the American law, okay, and Akufado, about Mampany, told the Ghana Constitution, not the Ejuma. I know can be a Apana, maybe I don't know. The word fisher, no, boy, at Babopuno. The word fit to me, power drunk, but to me, a bon home now and say, about to your book was a fellow, Pope Secrets.
Extract you,
yeah.
You obviously Sunny air kind of Waka Amayati, the Pope Secrets. We JFK fatal mistake.
John F. Kennedy. The mistake so or mistake be.
Na John F. Kennedy the fatal mistake or abrayi bisa no free Vatican City and as a Vatican kunu say obefa America emra ana ye adwuma and as be use Vatican emra o stating categorically say me use America emra aye adwuma eno ne krata no ene ebekinkan. Also when John F. Kennedy was asked by the Vatican, are you going to go along with the Roman canon law or the US Constitution? Mr. Kennedy answered them by saying the US Constitution. This was President Kennedy fatal mistake. His assassination was ordered by Rome, then planned and carried out by the Jesuits. Just as President Lincoln was. Anyone who knew too much about Mr. Kennedy assassination was taken care of too. When the American carried out for an investigation, Chief Justice Warren, a member of the Vatican Secretive Knights of the Columbus, was recruited to do the investigation. He did a lot of a double taking and then shifting as he was supposed to, and then after a sufficient and period of time close the investigation. Like the Pope says, negative action are fatal. Remember that President Kennedy was a great admirer and a student of Abraham Lincoln and knew what Mr. Lincoln knew.
Mistake. You could easy. I was saying, Kokase, America, Roman canon law. Yes, to
save himself.
To save himself.
The class or carry.
Oh, so say, idea. American fool. I wouldn't say, somewhere over on Pedimapia, or your poop in the boy. You don't challenge Vatican. I wouldn't know him. No, mamma, for here.
Okay.
Unya by American company pet or your poop in the boy, the otter boy. I want for the moon. Woman for him. Until so as I want to woman and Mlaman Yaduma dia, or your enemy or heretic. You have to die. Yes, so you're fool. But so you're fool. Whatever saw your company, what can I do? What can I say? The Pocosicano. You always say, okay, so I will share Wake Up Africa, Jamaica, Sarah Israel. I started a fire, no, and I was shot. We are sick. Terrorists, Al Qaeda, Boko Haram, Tuareg, Al Shabaab, the Kakao for the Kakao, Macaism. Ah, we deal with man. Okay, okay, I will hope.
ISIS.
Yes. Yes. Until no so we no more book we say e mo du papa. Yeah. Omuna this car sponsor wom.
Wow. Yeah. Say be o cost we edi bone.
Yeah. This one say womo baba me.
Okay. We see your twice our book name the Pope's Secrets. Na yeguswa page 49 and yeguswa ye kan one seminal. I say IRS Roman Court Collection Agency. The Roman Catholic Jesuit started the international banking system called the Illuminati and the Agentor, sorry, the Agentor, and blame the Jews for this. Rome motto is that Rome motto is he that holds the money bags round the nation.
Yeah,
only Mikita Skabag, you know.
Antina of Africa say American Federal Reserve.
Yomodia.
Yomodia. Nti wa wo so mo kwan no. Nko go ship mu. Nti sing the ship.
Ana no wa fatumi ji no.
Sing the ship. Nti e fika ba. Mo see kwan dia you have to die. Nti dokuta sika bag no. Ono man hwe nsa. Mistake efuna di ye no. Yeah. America man penny for wa be nyina no. Obu say yinchi ayekunwe no. Omo no woman ankonda ankanda.
Okay.
Nti echema no hu say penny from my mistake ba.
Okay.
Yeah, bobo.
Where US presidents and popes. President
Momu Hubuku do.
I say the complicated history of popes and US presidents. We about October 30th, 2017 and about US presidents and popes. President Estelwin, if I'm right, and Pope, if I'm right, President Eisenhower and Pope John the 18. Another picture, and also and President Kennedy and Pope Paul the 5th, and also picture.
Oh, Mr. Kennedy, yeah. Oh, you sir, son of what you come, almost a cry. Maybe I'm not for a while, you're above it, you are. In Babun, never know what three. Mr. Qualino, I'm saying, John F. Reddy, the fatal mistake, I don't know. Oh, you say, Vatican, and a cool about Lincoln. I have a telephone after all. I have a Montpellier. This after a Montpellier.
Okay.
And after that will show excellency. Congratulations. Why you say, I say, what the American Constitution will be managed how the Roman Canal law.
I said, we are. Oh, sorry.
Maka, Mr. I don't remember. No, mistake. Ava, we are sorry about. We are sorry about. Because say Roman, I would say, we are boy. I don't know, Papa. We are mistake, no. So none of or passing on there's none of you know, always over what we are doing or what we are doing here. Very bad. When you say, I remember me and Pat no crap. When you say, what for see, don't want to me. And quite do. I didn't say it should have come. And I'm trying to know about Obama honey. And quite there. And the people look at that for. Okay, yeah, that's a video. How? A boss, make us a boss. Only know who's out of the piano. Holy Father, but trouble. President Johnson and Pope Paul the 6th, and also Ekon Nakana. President Nelson and Pope Paul the 6th, and also Nakana. President Ford and Pope Paul the 6th, and also Nakana. Pope Carter, President Carter and Pope John Paul the 2nd, and also Omoko Bisa. And President Reagan and Pope John Paul the 2nd. Omotanasi asumdiem. Saasuna Pope George Herbert Walker Bush. And Pope John Paul. Also Omotanasi asumdiem. President Clinton and Pope John Paul the 2nd. President Clinton and Pope John Paul the 2nd. Saasuna yeko President George Bush and Pope John Paul. President George Bush and Pope John Pope Benedict the 16th, and also Omuko Nakada. President Obama and Pope Benedict the 16th, and also President Obama and Pope Francis. Makia, woman now who dear a 2 of penny for
you made mistake.
Mistake.
President Biden and Biden, President Trump and Pope Francis. Almost Omuko and Nakana.
Good. Sure. If you are young, you are 2 1. It's in general. Some of with the Jesuit, yeah. Omo yi penny bia superior general.
Sena na no kan.
Good. The yehwe Pope kwasra wo mo. Kwasra wo mo mehwe.
Abuja sena tie no sena we fa Israel kan the superior general wo Pope we yi no ogina ho di sa adwuma di no we fa Israel si yehwe na yenhu ne dwumadi a sena si esombo efa ewo Jesuit nkomodi a yedi mu ti sa ye krado a jagumu mai na yehwe.
Today, Monday, October 24th, at the invitation of the Jesuit Curia in Rome, Pope Francis joined the Jesuits of the 36th General Congregation for a morning of prayer and conversation. He was greeted by the new Jesuit leader, Father General Arturo Sosa, and the superior of the Jesuit Curia, Father Joaquin Barrero. He made his way upstairs to the aula, the large hall where the Jesuits have been working all these weeks, and was greeted with thunderous applause and cheerful admiration. Once the room was settled and the Jesuits took their place, the musicians played instrumental music to set the tone for the special morning prayer service. Hymns were sung and intentions in various languages were voiced for Pope Francis and the Church. At the conclusion of their morning praise, all the men recited the Our Father and sang together Ad Maiorem Dei Gloria. A warm welcome was invoked by Father General Sosa, and the much-beloved pontiff, speaking in Spanish, gave his address to the faithful Jesuits. At the conclusion of his speech, the Holy Father joined Father General and the Jesuit delegates for a large group photo, a photo that will historically capture this special day when the first Jesuit Pope comes to a Jesuit General Congregation.
Ye nyabutre na mesime nyabutre na yetumi ahwe Jesuit fuo enkomodie anase video kakre course no sene tie no ye besa akọ Israel nchen esanse yate general no sumwa osom emma eye Jesuit order ena pope no amayate asen Israel
okay yeah offer ya we say Pope John Paul the first
yeah
one check when you 33 days and oh yeah no book
okay
na the ehun say who church church among for defend even last week I put the announcement to be asking I say almost me gay about so people to follow say CNN now say but back and I say no gonna for bishops no nsenya no kore ye mungu omo defend ye mungu na no kore here ye wo Vatican Bank sika nyina egu omo japade ewiase obi no ho japade chen Roman Catholic Church na Pope John Paul first obaye no obehunu say maybe nko yi tolerance ko so wiase omo the scanner free asol dem Vatican no omo the sponsor omo wo share no hu say da bi amwa arechino wo hwe buku si kan hwe hwa na sponsor tolerance kan here
abuja gusuwa ye ka ye the Pope's secret no mo me gusuwa ye di hu enkomo na extract baby a ya trauma me say ye kan no na me be kan ma I see the Vatican also sponsor every major terrorist group in the world. The reason for this is to keep people's thoughts unexplainable. insane tragedies that their terrorist group are committing while the Vatican is busy undermining all the government of the world.
What?
So they can have world dominion, into bracket papal power. When terrorist news hits, it is a shocking. That is minimizing the news of the Vatican taking away the U.S. Constitution of the people being deprived of their religious freedom, being jailed, school and churches being closed. This is the real thing that the Vatican is after. Though world control of our religion and our government, the more insane, unreasonable and unexplainable the terrorism is better. The Vatican heavyweight news media also keep you busy thinking about it all. Now that they are exposed with the media's operandi, they will soon, with their media and the President of the United States who just joined them, be the driving force of the campaign to stop all this terrorism that they have created themselves.
Thank you. Yeah. And they say, what is it? Terrorists be or no more. Who the apostle? Yes, nothing. Coming to news. Say, Kumasi, like I say, Otum for the song for financier.
Yeah.
Financial secretary.
Yeah.
Who is coming match? Your Pope no financial minister.
Yeah.
In 5 years. I come over next week. No, matter can one some. Almost car. The new minister can do no. I'm booking the kinkano. Now I can almost 2 years. Yeah. Oh, you African ni. Omampeni oba oyo hene oba awose okochiano mehwe Ghana ehene baako okochiano
abusanza for you see yenhwe video on the my fa inchiaye a ohini bi ekokochia eye Pope Francis saya kradwa ma yenhwe.
It might have been one of the most colorful meetings that Pope Francis has had with an international leader. Wearing his traditional royal clothing, Otfuo Nana Ose Tutu II of Ghana visited Pope Francis with his family and a delegation. The Pope spoke in English with the king's children, although they were very shy.
What's your name? What's your name?
He is the king of Asante. The Asantes are an important ethnic group in Ghana that makes up about 20% of the nation's population of 25 million. The king gave Pope Francis a book about his culture and traditions, along with a large cloth that mixes the Vatican City and Ghana flags. In return, Pope Francis gave him a copy of Evangelii Gaudium and the medallion of his pontificate.
This is a coin.
Etwago TV ase no anase TV no so no sene tia yehu ohene kase a akochia Pope efa enkomodi e course no timeja ni nyina ama ofa sorry Israel na watu aso ama e
okay time akofo APP for baby the power no
yeah
the program
yeah
mo fa kan say omompani officer. There must be a cathedral.
Okay.
I'm not here.
Yeah.
I say Oshankom, Ibemu Kama. About a cathedral, a basso. Say, Omampeni be back. Now, feel say, only Bishop for a year when to here our trouble. Omampeni be back. Because Ghana how?
Yeah.
Now I say, on the room as well, want to enter our trouble. It's not say, over Babemono, Bokona, and I will say, oh, your Pope, no, Aquala. Into no Oba, Ababua, Canon law.
Yeah.
Nothing to me, Aquanim.
Okay.
Into Ba. So Kurumano, some Kurumano, also call. If you're Ghana president, of course,
Abisa said of Israel air cano another visitation so akoso e wo poop e Ghana mampani akwa akwesere poop na yenhwe nkomodia e koso sa ye krado a chegumu mai na yenhwe
Longing for light, we wait in darkness. Longing for truth, we turn to you. Because you're all, you're holy people, light for the world to see. Christ be our light, shining on.
Sono contento.
I'm very happy to welcome you here. Thank you for your visit.
Penso io, uffici.
This was made here in our own workshops.
Amare e aiutare.
To love, to serve, to help.
È l'unico momento che una persona può guardare un altro dall'alto in basso e per aiutarla a sollevarsi.
The only time we should look down on somebody is to extend the hand of friendship to help them up, raise people up.
Thank you very much. These are these books here. Sulla spontaneità, la fratellanza e tutto questo. E questo è il messaggio della pace di quest'anno, che sempre io lo firmo a dicembre dell'anno prima.
I signed the previous December.
Ma questo l'ho firmato per lei.
And I've signed this for you today.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Pray for me, don't forget.
Grazie tanto.
Mr. President, pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Shows you more the fact that it being a house and not an office place. So, thank you. So you reading, so that's for. But the thing about Galileo is here. Galileo, a member of this academy from the beginning, was and then Pope Pius the francophone.
Calorone. Ça veut dire bilan. Vous allez bien? Compatriote du Ils sont les Canéens.
Je sais, This is Marconi when he discovered the radio. And then, giving it to, Pope Pius XII. That is, he Pacelli, who would later become Pope Pius XII during the war.
Oh, that's him?
Yes. And this is Pope Paul VI. When Hawkins was invited, made a member of the academy, that was him giving him the medal of decoration. And then John Paul II meeting some of the academicians. And that's all the academicians say. So things have changed. In the past, the academicians came in full whatever. Now it's more, everyone can come in suit and shirt. So that will be the president and then the members of the council who decide how many teams we want to take in a year. So this year,
I share your president our visit a Vatican City and a Shiadia or Cushiano and on Yama say and they ever say Israel should actually in Tibeko Israel.
Okay, Papa. Tamunti, the Bukan say, I was so.
We are them cry.
I was so.
We are them cry.
I was so. Therefore, for you, about one penny, didn't you come back? One car as a matter. Okay, it's I say, if you are 2 years, one for Roma for Emranya Juma. The no. Next week, we share inside Vatican. The cost of honor.
I was here as I said, the Alcobiano and there over Israel, Ama Yatia Seer, Elbia, and there ye free back. A Jesuit order and Comodina, ye Guswa, ye Bohu and Common, the Tibiano, and there, as someone say yesterday, said ye Tibiano. Ingrano, I am Comodia, and I say, Senabea, you been who, and go for cool way. Omo dwumedi anaso mo dwumedi a ekoso yes e fa ye do no e me no enkomodie ene ye do so sere be ya obetimi de utimu po text messages anaso obe fresim na bibia akoso pepepe ama ye nyina no eni ti meka se ebre aso ye bi ahomana tum e de no ma betu TV na se na wafre na abra message no bi so a making kan ma wo na ene message no em se bibri na ana aba abedwa ama ye nyina na mesase every normal text messages no so send be ya yebetumi enya de bibrina ebisa afa ehu we see greetings great teachers. It's been a long overdue that this program has been in existence, and indeed I'm so afraid for be afresh but your baby afraid for you wake up after you JJ Pacho Yankwe. Pacho JJ. Pacho Metonka Yanko. Pacho, I want to find the media that they are Mudi and the boy. I am in Shapa, Modi and the Para. Then paying for no, or maybe that. I want to know a punish because Omopono, Omukuti, or more answer now, more than about. I be good for mine or not a high yes, as I said, the greetings, great teachers. It's been a long overdue that this program has been in existence, and indeed, you're doing a wonderful job. But I suggest also you get a sign language interpreter for the less privileged to also taste the national cake we are enjoying suffering inside Sifi for Sukun. You are afraid from but you are afraid but you be afraid feeling with the Wake Up Africa Jumedi.
Yo, me then na ba me kata so akotia.
Ejana ba yanko.
Yo, me did say nsanu bebre na mwaka no. Na omo ntiase entiase na omo ntiase betiase.
Okay.
Na me de dia me kata me sukura me baby me nyamfa so bebre wo na the mechanism anka yina yanka mum sa yembo so nsua de na yebehu ne ho ne yehu ne eba ye ba ne sa so yehu be bia yebetu abati we share that for na me de adisede bi na busum pro akotia ma hwe na mi hunu
ma bara mane
o tie mi sisia
ma bara mane so
afia washin bia o bisa me na ma o de be ma no na se me no e di nkowo
yo ma bara mane se na wo ka tie me be Mati we just say from Kofi Nswa Asenkregwa and on the basis shalom prof Wafa Poku Dankwa and Dr. Israel Nkrumah. The leadership is the next generation. But your friend from Pacho facing Pacho, baby, your friend with the ocean, wake up Africa.
See, Major, so now, as I'm beginning to chat with Aroma.
You, Mati.
Yo, see, Bebo Basso, need to maybe a moody, said the Bia, Musicono, Yasamana, Muboso de Piano, na. The Jesuit sister, but I will honor Mono, said the last 2 weeks or so of Israel Kayan. A much tributary, and soaring Kayanim, a idea process, none, your name was sorry, I would write the Brunei. Omuna, they belong to that idea because I am mass. Also, be the Amuyi, I would say, I brought 7 years ago for the baby. Who said that max, no, who were and no house near the Abdul Mafasi of Moody, or better by being this wool. And sorry, near soft like a seer, 80 sharp away. Who is I say for me for him? Where they belong to. It was a deception, no matter how much different in a woman in a theatre, and tis a man was when your mouth for near. Rebecca see a call of body and chance so near Yara. If I say a pasha would in the your body and it and so in a woman, who quite for so a woman in a hopper registration be a Becca said the course of piano, a woman in a hona, and maybe last time na more about this chipping and staff new registration no koko for any villages no we be do hire mu misam yi na mu painful mu film kan fo bi ho te sam ho na fe a process am do mu fam no o mu hunu medase
yes ye da se bebre abusia me kind message bi wa free asenkregwa I say shalom Professor Wafaya Pokudankwa, Dr. Israel Nkrumah, the leadership for this next generation giant billboard is finally at Asenkregwa. Almost all my billboard here was Asenkregwa and some back of share. But your friend for facing patch will be a free with the Wake Up Africa Radio. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Patch me tonka.
The battle with the Master Mama, not being on my visual America. A year past. But also, the moon and not say you say you do honor. But anything to woman, what I say, because sharing in the room with any no baby, so my wife.
And I see me so was when you're that now, what to me at you. I was on the course where I can messages. I say, just as Yeshua said, anyone who tries to protect his life will lose it, but he who gives out his life for my sake gets in abundance. Remember to friend for our facing patch will be a free with the Wake Up Africa Jumedi.
The family, Kokudi, and Philip Center.
Okay, and young quay.
You may bought mine about so papa, or nearly penny no. You know, Mr. the penny Casana, man, Tenny Casana, you take him apart. What do you look at you? And some no kaya. I said, oh, pack bar. No cry, no crow. No cry, no cry. Yet in that remnant of form and the Kuma. You need money and someone working there. Grandma put him on you. Oh, no, money, mom. Oh, Babo needs to show. To keep the man, I can't have a crop of that. I must say, one question, but they are young,
yes, just as Yeshua said, anyone who tries to protect his life will lose it, but he who gives out his life for my sake gets in abundance. Thank for giving your life for the truth. Sir Francis from Nkoko and also Edibaye. We also say it's about this. It's about time Christianity religion be abolished in Africa, but the question is who will stand to make this come true, so as you alone and your teaching can make it 100% taught. Okay, the meet me I can also only free safety for sukrum and a buy. We also say, please can we highlight more on the Roman Catholic Trinity? Okay, honestly, the other buy no. I'm say Trinity topics na bibri na ya kan wasem. Okay, enti abusia na ebre ebe ma kwan na yetumi de ewo bia no aba. Na na bosom pem so de na de aba. Na na bosom pem so me kan kire say baba say baba na aba say friend na bibia nko so em say mama no me text ya amosisi a. Na na bosom pem from Akwetia. I think of your security because you are risking your life. You are the real Jesus of our days. But tight your security because of African need you yate abusia enti ena yade bibia ebesi na bibia akoso pepepe ama yengina no obode epine so bi mu a na wotwete se ne yebese hia empedefo eni mu di nkomo eye Wafaya Pokudankwa executive director Emma Freedom Mind Movement saso na Israel Nkrumah the national coordinator ene omaya krado eba ma bibia eye pepepe saso na Michael Asma na medi dwumedi mu eye chairman na wotwe bi yebese hia na yedi nkomo esensa. Thank you.